Okay, here we go. Another Unreal development rig. Wow, thinking about something ahead here. Stream where we're gonna do some work with the one of the rigs that we were working on last week. I've been sort of pondering what we're gonna do this week. I never did get my iPad yet, so I have no immediate cool things to show you or do, but we're actively working on trying to set up a system for the animation students right now, where they can start working with Unreal during their term 2, I guess, of Introduction to Animation. And it's pretty basic, pretty simple flow, so I'm going to show a bit about how that works, and then we're going to hey, Presto's here. Way to go. Way to make it right on time, Brett. That was awesome. With some capital letters. Hey, and Big Lava Goose here too. So anyway, the plan is to take a look at the rig that we've got going. I did some work on it over during the week as I'm preparing for this content, and we have ideas how we're going to add content to for modelers as well, and VFX definitely. So we have more than this, but this animation one I find is the easiest one, and I think it's going to be something I can get pumped out by the end of the week, so that we can get animators in our open department and start getting some more interactions with people learning Unreal. Sarah's here. You made it. Welcome. Nice to have a group of people already here. Excellent. So let's take a look at what we got for where we're at. So I guess the idea that when I say we're going to do some facial poses, it's anticipating the fact that I'm going to have an iPad Pro next week, which gives me something to work with. So this Skull Chaser rig that we were working on last week is actually a pretty good one for doing facial poses. I mean, I'm kind of just guessing, but I feel like I did a little idle animation last night with the rig. Just well, it was part of the video that I created, so I had to do it. And then the facial rig, you can see there's just a little bit of stuff here. Not very much utilizing it yet, but because the character can't actually close his eyes because he's a skull, it really minimizes the amount of content that I have to worry about. So for being a first rough pass of using this new facial retargeting, no, it's like capturing stuff that comes from Apple and feeds directly into Unreal in a real-time environment. It's kind of cool to just use this character because he's got a fair bit of functionality with how his mouth moves and the shapes that you can build. He has a bit of eyebrow movement, and cheek movements and stuff, so you can get some expressions in there, but it won't be like there's not going to be eye looking at problems, and there's not going to be blinking problems. So that slight uncanny valley issue hopefully is going to be alleviated because it's stylized. Sarah says that's why I decided not to make my ruse mouth animatable. It's like, once you add the feature, then you have to animate it. Even with this one, I did a very, very simple, like, mouth open, just when he breathes out, I guess. Like, you don't want to put too much in, especially on a loop cycle, because it just starts to go, okay, he's having some problems, because he keeps... he's having some looping mental problems because he just keeps doing the same thing over and over again. But this way, it kind of looks like he's just sitting there waiting for the next thing. We can talk a little bit about all the materials and stuff that I did to tweak it out, trying to make it look nice. But last night I was really sorting out how the gun props were going to work, and how the rig works, so that we can talk about it today pretty easily. There's a giant gun that he straps around his shoulder that's right on the ground normally, but I've removed the mesh from this export. That's what we did last week. And so I'm still trying to figure out how exactly that's going to work, like in terms of if anybody wants to animate the bigger gun. It's definitely part of the rig and the skeleton, but it's a little more tricky, because if you don't want to use the gun, what do you do with it? It's going to be dragged around everywhere you go. So unless you build a special material that you can swap on that's invisible, or I don't know. I've never really. You'd have to almost just have 2 skeletal meshes and then swap between one skeletal mesh or another, depending if you want the gun or not. Which, to be honest, when I say that, it actually might be not a bad idea. Sarah says, I was apologizing the whole mesh, and I was going to rig the mouth, but I decided it was too much for a newbie rigger. Yeah, mouth face rigging is hard. I'm not gonna lie. Even what I'm doing right here is gonna require some R&D to get this to be right. There's a cool webpage that I can rely on from Apple that gives you sort of a guideline of what kind of shapes they're looking for. So that's what I'm gonna rely on when I'm building the shapes. And so we'll just start building a library of face shapes, and then next week when I have hardware, I can have something to tap into and wire into. I'll probably do some polish before then, but at least I've covered kind of the initial beginning process. This visor here, I kind of went a little bit. I used this glass material that I created for from a tutorial, and I was kind of handing around, and then I was like, oh, glass, okay, I'll just throw in a nice glass material, and it looked like really nice. But then I'm like looking at the reference of the rig, and it's supposed to be sort of stylized and matching the look, so it wasn't matching. I had to really tone it down and try to make it not reflective, but it still is, looks like a shiny glass mirror over there. But anyway, it kind of doesn't look too obvious. What was the other thing I was just going to say? Oh, I guess we can take a look at the materials now that we're talking about it. So, jump over to the materials section. I've been trying to, even last week, oh, Sarah says, he can move his head enough so he looks like he's eating without mouth moving. Yeah. It depends on how close you are to the character. If the roux is like, you're up close to his face, then you're going to have to worry about eyes and blinking and all that stuff. But if he's just in a distance away, then a lot of it can be just assumed. And definitely that's one of those things. You only do it if you need to do it. So it's so easy to like make something and then find out it never got used. So I always cite on the caution of like, go minimalistic, and then when you actually realize that you need it, then you add it, and try to do that as much as you can, because otherwise you end up throwing away so much work. Not that I can practice that very well, but I definitely try to preach that. It's one of those struggle points. As I show you this overly elaborate material system that I've created for this character. But anyway, what I was trying to do here is the Figgins parent is like a parent material. We talked about this last week. We created a material that has parameters to wire in, and they can be used as a material instance for the other characters that I eventually will import. So hopefully we'll have more than just Skull Chaser. We'll have a whole bunch of characters. We'll just do it little by little. But this one's a great one because it's not only an awesome character to animate, because he's nice and skinny, he's got lots of guns, he's actually a really good game character, but he's also like simplified. Like the thing I was talking about, the facial animation will be simple, and he's he doesn't have that much overlapping problems, so he does actually make for a pretty good character. And his rig is awesome. He's all got, like, you can take the backpack and have a special rig for it. He's got a special one for breathing, all sorts of neat stuff. So here's our material. We've got, let's go to the actual skeletal mesh here, because so when I imported it, I had a whole bunch of different parts of the character that were separated. So I put a different type of material for the visor, for example, so it's very much a glass material. We just jump over to that one for a sec here. This is that glass material instance, and just tweaked this custom sliders that we did for creating that original glass. It looks kind of like this more. Like I even put like smudges and stuff in there. Come on, where's the material here? Which was kind of fun, but then yeah, it just all got negated at the end. And then we have special material for the guns themselves. So the gun left and gun right both have a different material slot. And then we have the inside of the mouth material. So when the mouth is open, he's got a black interior of his mouth. And then this one, I don't even know what this is for. Maybe it's for the other gun down here. Not sure. But so these materials, the gun materials and the body materials, are using the same parent. So they're both reusing, they're both material instances. And so inside of the material instance, I wired together the materials that they brought in from the original rig file, which hopefully is consistent through all the different rigs from Figgins. Sarah says, when Epic gives me a mega grant, I can pay someone to do it. When I have money, I can get somebody else to do it for me. Yeah, well, I mean, yes, I'll agree with you on that one. So let's see here. And then we have an emissive multiplier. So one thing I noticed is that they never actually gave me an emissive pass. So to get this eye to glow in the dark, I had to create another map just for that eye emissiveness. I did it in Substance Painter, which I thought was kind of interesting and unique. Taking like, because I don't have access to any of the other textures, like it's a packed material, so a lot of these things are all joined together into a same texture. So I had to go into Substance Painter and sort of reverse engineer, or just literally just add a single. Let's talk about it. Let's go check it out. It's kind of a fun thing to talk about. I'm not even sure if this is maybe the best workflow, but for me it was like, oh, it kind of got the job done. So I created a new Substance Painter file, imported the FBX that I exported for Unreal. So I ended up with the same character in it, and then just removed all the other pieces. Oh, it's right there. Removed all the other pieces so that, let me show you what I'm talking about here. So that we're only dealing, oh, they've added them all back again. All right, never mind. Tried to remove all these ones. Apparently they all came back. So I could add the emissive one. And then so that this texture just has a mask for emissive. So it's either white or black. And you end up with a texture map that just has everything is black except for where this eye is on the UV map that I painted white using geometry selection. And so that ended up getting like this kind of a texture where it's just like one eyeball, but it's on the right spot in the UV layout. And then I just brought that into Unreal under the, I actually added it to the parent material here so that now we have an input for emissive, goes through this multiplier that multiplies the color from the actual base color, so that you end up getting like a brownie, that brownie red color from the base color instead of just like a white. And then we beef it up using this parameter to make sure it glows. So, you know, you can make it glow a lot more than that, but that actually follows in line with what the rig looks like. Here, I'll show you the pictures here. Those are the textures. Here we go. He's got kind of a glowy eye, and he's got this visor that I don't know what that looks like exactly, but he's got these little glowing green things around the gun, which I'm not sure what that means. Or how that's done or what that's supposed to be, but there wasn't any asset there for that, so I had to kind of build something for it. Here's this giant gun. He's got no material on it from what I can tell. Like these ones have like little edges and lines and stuff, but this one, I don't know. I'm not sure. They didn't give us a material for it, and it doesn't seem to share from those ones. And then they got a big bone chain that goes all the way around the strap, so you can put it around his shoulder and have it like move and flex and stuff. This is a very complicated device, so definitely not something that, you know, you just want to have to like deal with on every animation. So currently it's excluded, but yeah, I'm sure somebody will want to make it so that it's part of it. And then like, what if you drop the gun, right? Like that's the other problem. Riz asked, did I model this? No, I did not model this. This is coming from, look, I even got the page ready to go. Figgins is a website you can go to that has a whole bunch of different animation rigs. Here it is right here. These ones with the green icons are game compatible, so they're the ones that you want to select. And so we have a lot of these purchased for CG Spectrum students, and so I'm going to start building a library of ones that are ready to go in the game engine. As you can see, it does require a bit of like labor to get them prepped and ready. So it's not like it's a plug and play, but what I'm trying to do is set it up so that it is plug and play, and for the students. So coming from an animation perspective, they can just be like, okay, I want to put my animation and play it on this character. Well, all you got to do is import the animation, just like this one, and it just works. At least that's the idea. So the video that I recorded really talks about how to build or set up the rig and get it ready for animation. And that way everybody's kind of consistent in terms of how they approach it. And let's see if I can jump over to that. We got the animation right here. So we're referencing the game rig into the animation file, which is always good practice. And there is a checkbox when you import the FBX to make sure that your namespaces don't override everything. So I did that last night. And here he is. And so you can see these are referenced because they've got the little blue icons on them. And then they don't have any namespaces on them because when I referenced it, let me show you this option because I've been kind of feeling like it was impossible, but now all of a sudden I've figured out where the option is. It was possible, and then they changed the settings, and then I thought it was impossible, but then I realized that I was just wrong. Great reference. All right, it's right here. Merge into selected namespace and rename incoming objects that match. I mean, that doesn't sound super intuitive, but you're basically merging into the root namespace, which is a non-namespace. And so it creates this where you don't have any object name separated by a semicolon. It just comes in just like it was in the rig file. And the reason why I'm saying this so carefully is because if it's different, it's not going to get recognized when you import it into Unreal. So if it does have a namespace in front of it, your animation is going to export. It's going to go into Unreal, and it's going to be like, we didn't find any matching bones. Like, this is a totally different rig. But it's not. It's just that they've got all this stupid namespace in front of it. So this at least will work. Anybody can just animate whatever they want with this and just export it just by using this skeleton. This is the joint hierarchy here. Just file export, and boom, just import it in Unreal. It works, which is you know, fun. That's the way it should be for animators. And we're talking about how these rigs here are you know, set up. We even have the larger gun is there. We just have it sort of hidden. We have this like prop C visibility. And I think the reason why I'm having trouble getting rid of it is because something's not working in the rig, which it's fine. We can work around it, but it's funny how you can spot a difference in one of the. Basically, this node right here is useless. None of these things work. Like it looks like, oh yeah, make the visibility of the meshes invisible. Yeah, that sounds great, but it doesn't do anything. Like none of these things actually work. So I think this was supposed to be hooked up, and it's not. And that's why I can't just get rid of the gun very easily. So anyway, right here, there's this microscopic gun, and I've set it to a super tiny size. And I kind of regret now I can't even really properly select. I gotta turn off my meshes because I keep picking the mesh. There we go. So this is the rig. It's super, super tiny. So if I make it back to 1, it's a full-sized gun. And there's no way to really hide the mesh without manually like selecting the geometry and hiding it. So the easiest way I do is just say, let's just make it 0. And then it's tiny, super tiny. And it should be invisible even if the geometry is there. Anyways, what was I gonna say after this? Where am I gonna go after this? We're gonna get to facial posing eventually. We got our rig, got our textures sorted out. Okay, we're good on that front. Yeah, we got the character rig here. I don't know. I guess we can just get to the posing since we're in Maya already. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's go to the next stage, which is Apple has a web page, which I forgot to grab before I started here. Oh shoot. Here we go. Apple, oh wait, I got it right here. Excellent. My presets. The AR kit from the developer section. This is augmented reality, so I don't know if this is the right section or not. What else we got? Face anchor. That sounds better. Oh, blend shapes even. Yeah, there we go. AR face anchor. Okay, so here is identifies for specific facial features and relative movements within those features. So this is going to be the entire library of readable morph targets that they can use when they are detecting what your face is doing based on your camera. And so the idea is the iPhone or the iPad is reading your face, figuring out what your face is moving as, and then sending these values, you know, a 1 or a 0, turning on and off these blend shapes or face targets in a way that gives you those different types of shapes. So there's quite a few of them. It's kind of dry because you have look. Oh, this is even for the eye look, so I don't have to worry about those ones. Jaw forward, jaw left, jaw right. Those ones are kind of good. And if you click on them, they even show you a slight image of what the geometry needs to look like for the blend shape. So this is going to be my library that I'm going to work from. Yay, it's going to be exciting. So what we'll do is jump back to our Maya, and we'll start making some of them. Now the thing is, I haven't really fully thought about how I'm going to do this yet, so you have to be careful. So, and then the other problem is I don't actually have any way to test it. So, but what I'm doing right now is a little differently because these are not blend shapes. These are joint. Like the whole skeleton is joint based. The whole facial rig is joint based. So I'm not actually using blend shapes. I'm using face poses. And I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that it's possible. So hopefully I'm not misleading us all, heading down the wrong path. But worst case scenario, I guess you could just make blend shapes of these poses by just duplicating the geometry. But personally, I kind of like the idea that I can move the joints rather than do actual like geo modifications. So what I'm looking for is the face rig stuff here. So facial surface visibility, and that's on the eye control here. So you can see all the different controls we do get. And this one down here is your jaw. I don't want to do it in this file because that would be ridiculous. I'm going to make a new scene. We're going to go through the whole process of probably doing a reference in, so I could have just done this from the get-go. So reference editor. Well, I don't know. I need to go to reference editor, but I'm just going to add a new reference. And we're going to jump to the rig again. So grab the game ready rig. Make sure this checkbox is on as we talked about before. Reference it in. All right, there we go. And now we have ourselves our character mesh here. Interesting, I was just thinking about how all these people are talking about how their Mayas are crashing. And I had a problem earlier this week where my Unreal was crashing. And I know the Unreal one is definitely related to a video card driver change that happened. But I have not had any problems with Maya yet, so I don't know whether that's because I have not yet got my Windows update. It's just coming down the road still, maybe. I'm about to start experiencing it, but it does seem whatever just happened recently was quite disruptive. Like that whole crashing of Unreal was really significant. Like I could not do anything. And the crashes were terrible. Like they were like everything would be frozen. Like I couldn't hit Alt Control Delete and go to a task manager or anything. So I literally had to go and push the power button, turn it off my computer. But then when I should talk about that since I'm just assuming everybody knows what I'm talking about. Sarah hasn't any issues yet. Okay, well that's good. So if you like the way that I always, oh shoot, did it wrong. That I always do my driver updates is I always go to the GeForce Experience because I think that's how they're supposed to do it. And then when I installed my driver, I was like, I had just updated it for January 7th, and then after that, which was just after my last week's stream, and then after that, it was when all the crashes started happening. I realized as I was looking that there's two types of drivers. There's a studio driver and a game driver. And apparently this is only available for certain video cards, so I assume the newer ones. And so I switched from game driver to studio driver, and that solved the crashing. So immediately I was like unable, I was not having crashes. I was like, wow, that's fantastic. This driver is from like mid-December, so possible that the next release for studio drivers will cause crashes, but I can't possibly imagine that they wouldn't have noticed it. Like, it literally says Unreal Engine 6 4.26 in the list of things that they're trying to support, so how could you not notice that crash? Sarah says, I had issues installing Maya on my MacBook after a factory reset. I gave up and then gave it one more go a few days ago and it worked. Those are so frustrating. Those are like the worst ones. It's like you don't learn anything. You're just like, I just got lucky. The 10th time worked. It's like, those are the worst. Anyway, I'm glad you got it working though. And then a whole world of Mac. I was like, I don't even know. I guess with my iPad, I'm gonna have to start getting used to an iOS. Sarah says, I still can't install Adobe CC though, so therefore no Photoshop or anything. Really? Is that also not working? Seems highly suspicious that both Autodesk and Adobe were having problems. So here we are again with our weapon that we have to hide. So again, I take the scale and move it to 0. And like, I literally don't even think that matters right now. Well, gotta think about how this is gonna work here. Because in theory, if I'm gonna be doing joint-based animations, they're gonna be poses. And then that shrinking the gun is gonna get reused as another pose because it shrunk the gun every time. So maybe I in this case, I don't want to shrink the gun. Let's just keep it where it was at neutral. I don't even know if this is going to work because in hindsight, it works great for morph targets, but for joints, you'd have to do additive adjustments rather than override. And or no, maybe it would be the opposite. I don't know. But like I said before, I mean, in theory, worst case scenario, you still have the poses. You just have to duplicate the mesh over and create a morph target from it. So yeah, I think we can work with this. So anyway, our rig is ready to roll. Big Globagoo says, what happens when you try to install it? Oh, talking to Sarah. There you go, Sarah. Dave's trying to help you there. Okay, so we're gonna start with our first target here. I'm gonna grab all those facial joints. I'm gonna turn them on. I'm gonna start setting this up. There's this other one that says face visibility on and off, and I don't think that works either. I think this is supposed to show like a giant grid of controllers over here, but I have not ever seen them show up, so not sure why. All right, I'm gonna save this as mission. And we would do this a lot, like back in the day. This is kind of how we did a lot of our automated dialogue. You do your phonemes and your expressions all as separate targets, just like they got in the Apple, and then you would just import them as targets, and they would use them, that particular pose, even though, you know, the joint based, and they would still work. So I know it's possible that, you know, the theory is possible. I just don't know how exactly that's going to come together at the end. So again, I'm going to grab the whole face, all the face joints. Maybe I'll do the whole rig. Key the first frame, go to frame 5, and we'll do our first pose, which again, we're doing, Sarah says, just trying again, see if an error message shows up so she can see what we got going on there. And so what they're saying in this poses is like, you know, move it forward at a certain amount. And like, what is that amount? Well, you'll find out when you test it, whether or not that was too much or not enough. But I should be able to grab this jawbone and move it forward just like this. That becomes our pose. And then I wonder if I could like label these. Actually, you know what? I should be more careful about this too. Let's do it so that everything is in order. As if they have the possibility of doing each of the joint poses, right? Does that sound like a good idea? How many are there? It's quite a lot. So we'll do 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Oh, we could probably do that one actually. 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70. So we're at 75. All right, 75. And then because I keyed the first frame, we still have that original pose, which I gotta keep reusing over and over again. Otherwise I have a distorted pose. It's exactly the same process when you do blend shapes. It's like the same thing, except for you're using meshes. Okay, so it's not the exact same. It's similar process, but it's like the same sort of breakdown idea. Jaw left is the next one. So I'm gonna middle mouse click the first pose over to 80, key that. And that's gonna be jaw left. Means that this node goes this way based on the picture. So that means his left. And I made it go 0.135. So man, I should just like eat everything. Gonna be boring. If there's an automatic way to do this, what would it be? Bake all the frames, scale it by a factor of 5. Or just do this. All right. So what do we got here? Thankfully I didn't screw that up. All right, 85 is now the other way. So we said that it went 0.135 one way, and then we're gonna do negative 0.135 the other way. Why does that not look the same? All right, whatever. Just a bit of a skinning thing. So we got the jaw left, jaw right, jaw open. This looks like this. It'll be an interesting one. So we go to frame 90. I think it's pretty wide open. Oh yeah, so then we have other issues. Okay, let's see what we can do about this. So the other thing I forgot to do is I didn't turn on the helmet controllers. And to be honest, I don't even know what options I get here. There's some options like this, which I could potentially like work with. So every time he opens his mouth, it like moves more than just the mouth jaw open. Or I guess in theory I could do this, but that's gonna be kind of crazy too. Oh no, it won't work anyways. Got this controller and then we got this controller. What's the difference here? That moves that. And that moves the same thing. What's the story here? Pivot points are different. It comes through. Alright, this is going to be trickier than I thought. Maybe we just do that. Oh, I know what's going on. This has got the collar involved. You can see the chin is moving. And this one is just simply the helmet. Well, that's not true either. Oh wait, I haven't got this picked. Yeah. So if I bring the helmet down, that might actually be the best solution. Alright, an answer. No, Sarah says no message yet, just a black screen with a blue and white floating circle. Dave's about to ask whether it's a Mac or PC, and it's a Mac. Okay, so the fact that I wanted to use this now, I feel like I should grab these two controllers, and now I gotta default them all out again. So I kind of wish I had thought of that prior, but anyways, we'll just do a bunch of them over here, a bunch of them over here. So anytime I've got like the mouth open, we're gonna like knock the helmet down, which, yeah, maybe that's gonna look ridiculous, but we can always work with it. Oh, and the other thing when you do a jaw open is your jaw doesn't just rotate perfectly. It actually goes forward a little bit when it opens. It's kind of a strange anomaly. Okay, so we bring helmet down to that point. Now he says this, which kind of looks a bit strange, but what are you gonna do? That is not what I thought was gonna happen. I really like, it's like gonna look really weird. I'm trying to think if you rotate it in a certain way, maybe you can get it so that it feels like it pivots right. Like I was trying to get it to rotate back and then in and down, but then it looks kind of weird. We move it forward. Now it's sliding the wrong way. What would realistically happen? Maybe it would just like rotate down, back, and up. Oh yeah, that looks a little better. This goes to show you have to do a little bit of animating, and this is so true. When you're doing facial poses, it really has like an element of animation to it for sure. It's like you're always thinking what makes sense, and like there's so many times that like that you have to be like very careful about the facial poses in a way that blends well, especially when you're doing phonemes and you're doing dialogue. Like there's an immense sense of like realism or uncanny valley that you can do if you just make a subtle mistake. And so many times we'd be back and forth with the targets trying to get it right, observing subtlety here and there, that see if we can figure out a way. Like one area that we'd always talk about was just like right on the side of the lips. It would be, you would be doing your phoneme, so you do all the phoneme shapes, and then if you put the side of the lips just a slightly like too high or too low, and every time you hit that phoneme, like the side of your lips, the side of your mouth moves. It's so weird. It's like, why are you moving that part of your mouth? So like you have to be really conscious of like these subtlety. Sarah says an ancient MacBook Pro from the mid 2012 era. Sarah says still the same. Maybe it's gonna install this time. If not, download it again, try it again. Dave says, last question, then I'll bug Simon later to send you my contact info to try and help. I promises so. What version of Mac OS are you using? Ah, Dave, you're being very helpful. It's awesome. It's almost like you're some kind of IT or something. All right. Let's move on to the next shape. Open, mouth closed. Oh, this is a tricky one. It's when you have the lips together, but the jaw is open. Jaw open, mouth closed. Jaw 0, 0. Jaw open 1, mouth closed 0. Jaw open 1, mouth closed 1. It's kind of a cool target. Okay, so we need actually the same pose from mouth open over here. Middle mouse click, drag S. We have the mouth open twice. And then I'm going to bring these poses up. Oh boy, here we go. Shoot. Hoping scaling would like get them to be flush without me having to manually move each individual one. Now, the question is, what kind of problems am I going to be looking at here? It is an object. Let's move it to world. Shoot. Up and rotate. Those crazy kids. What are they doing? Okay, and then we gotta do the bottom or the top part of the mouth. And I know that this is not necessarily gonna be amazing because there's a lot of elements here that are probably not going to line up very well. But we'll try to get this to work here. Oh, we got a question. Riz says, are you using Mac? Which I think was yes. The answer was. Sarah says, Catalina 10.15.7. Sarah says, thanks. Big glob. Riz says, are you using Mac? Yes, was the answer. Sarah says, I am Riz. PC. Simon is on PC. Sarah says, trying to catch that fox outside your window. That's what the kids are doing. Oh, that's good. He's elusive. He shows up, although predictable. Elusive, but predictable. Shows up exactly every minute. And what are the odds? He's got some kind of obsessive compulsive disorder. One of these weeks, I'm gonna see if I can show up and I'll be this Skull Chaser guy. It'll be awesome. Maybe. Or it'll be terrible. And I'll be like, what a failure. Didn't work at all. But it's well worth a try. I'll have to come up with a new environment for our Skull Chaser guy. Like, what's he gonna be in? Like a... It's gotta be in a more appropriate environment that fits his style. I don't even know what I'm gonna do for that. Oh, there we go. See, this is why it's so much easier to work with simplified characters. Like, if I was doing a photo real character right now, man, this would be such a harder job. Got this nice music going on. It sounds like there's crickets. I remember crickets. Something that used to happen months and months and months ago. Actually, it sounds like frogs, to be honest. Peepers. Riz says, I use a Mac laptop. Oh, so Riz has a Mac. Very good. JD Smith. Plus, Scheduler is a great looking character. Oh, Skeleduder. Skeleduder, not Scheduler. Let me see. Let me see what Skeledude. I assume he's in here. I actually can't confirm that because I don't remember Skeledude. Unless you're talking about my guy, who is a Skeledude. Okay, that's what it was. There you go. He is an awesome looking guy. He's cool. The glowing eye and everything. Yeah, he's gonna turn out fine. Because he has that, he's got that uncanny valley beat, which is it's usually the hardest part. Is trying to get that sense that it looks natural, but it also, it's okay if it's not perfect. In fact, it goes back to this fox animation that I got. It's like the fox animation, and I heard this in, I don't know, maybe somebody posted a video about it or something, but animal animation is a lot easier to do than humans because we don't really know how animals move as well as we do humans, so it's like a lot more error proof. I think it was a Disney animator talking about this. It was like a 2D thing. They were just talking about how like it's a lot faster turnaround trying to get animal animations, and sure enough, with my animation, it was pretty quick. Joe laughing at my running for the wrong file. I'm Blazy. Oh, is that the original name of this character? It's supposed to be Skull Chaser. That's what he's called here. But I think he was. Wait, I don't know if I must be on a different path again. What was it here? Cosmo. Sorry, I'm on a different path. I don't know what Aaron Blazy means. Is that what he looks like? Another character that exists in the world? Is this like a comic book character or something? Very good lesson. Oh, okay. Oh, with the dog, with the animal thing. Yeah, for sure. That's what I thought too when I heard it. I was like, ooh, that's a good little tip I didn't know about. Sarah says, error code 22, case sensitive drives. Oh, case sensitive drives not supported. Well, there you go. That's the answer right there. You got capital letters in your drive name. Presto says Blaze is no the Disney guy. Oh, Aaron Blazy, is he a Disney guy? Maybe he was the guy. Let me go to his search. Yeah, like I remember the name of the guy. Jeez. Somebody's done their homework. I don't know. No, but I can see why you would have thought it was this. Oh, maybe it was. Guy down here? I thought he was an older guy. Yeah, I think he's an older guy. But I can see why you picked this guy, because he's got like Lion King stuff, so that seems like somebody who would know animals pretty thoroughly. Was it Blaze or Blazy? Did I get that right? Yeah, Blazy. I'm not saying it right. Blaze. There's no Blazy. Well, maybe it is Blazy. I don't know. Lots of thinking going on in my head. So anyway, oh, Skeleduder 2099. That it must be a thing. I'm not getting anything for that, so. Skeledude. I don't know. Sorry, I'm following a whole bunch of bad paths here that my brain is not keeping up with. Presto says he does a lot of animal animation. Yes, that's definitely seems to be the case. Oh, the director of Brother Bear. Well, yeah, definitely. Sarah says he does a lot of YouTube videos. Okay. Yeah, that's the guy. Got him. Excellent. Dave says, I have some things for you to try. I'll bug Simon later to send them to you, or at least to get them to send them my info, Slack info. I'll do it right now. There you go. Sent to Dave, so he can contact Sarah. So did I mention this might take a while to get this face expression done? This is a tough one. But let's see here. We got sort of like a mouth closed effect going on here. I can always do some more polish later. Possible that this is all going to look totally weird and wrong. It needs to be like carefully redone again, so I don't want to get maybe too invested into it. But let's see here. We got mouth open, mouth closed, and then open, mouth closed. See, that thing is it's possible that it's got to be all very much higher. But you can see like these joints at the very tip of the mouth is like important that those don't move around too much. But when you move the jaw open, it does definitely move it, so we'll have to, that one might be the exception to the rule. Okay. Let's see if I can get myself back on track. Where was that page gone? Here it is. Close shut. What did we just do? Mouth closed, now mouth funnel. Oh yeah, this one. We never used to call it mouth funnel. I can't remember what you call it though. Ooh. There's a whole system called the fax system. I mean, I tell this to everybody, but it's like, to be fair, it's pretty pretty dry stuff here. I'll see if I can find it. I'm not making blend shapes, but I am making face poses. They're just not technically blend shapes. They're actually joint-based expressions, which I don't even know. To be fair, I can't quite say for sure whether or not this is going to be a simple process of importing and getting it to work right away, or whether I'm going to have to go through some sort of conversion process, or whether I'm just going to have to take the poses of the meshes and just duplicate them and create blend shapes from it. I don't know, but the face rig is made with joints, so I'm just going to go with joint posing for now. Anyway, so what I was talking about was this facial action coding system. This was made in the 70s originally by this guy down here. And we've been using it as research for years. Like, you know, it was our main go-to source for how it works. And he's broken down all the facial like expressions into different names. And so there's like bazillions and bazillions, because each muscle in your face can technically create an expression, although you have to be a especially talented person to be able to move that one muscle and not the other muscles. So and this guy in particular is quite good at it, surprisingly. He's able to, like, I don't know, solidify one particular muscle and make it work. They have updated it a little bit over the time to some interesting, like, what is this? What was that other page I was just looking at a minute ago? This one up here. So they've got a little bit of videos now showing you some of the different ways that the expressions work, which is kind of cool. And realistically, you don't need all of them to make a good facial rig, but you really need to respect the fact that these are all different, like, things you can do with your muscles. Sometimes they're pulling in, and you're pulling in another way, and it creates different types of things. But it can go really, really complex, but it depends on what you really need from your facial rig. Like, does it matter that it can't, like, you know, is it really going to use every little bit of the joints? How photorealistic are we talking about? And in our case, we definitely don't need 100% of that, but it was good. It's a good little reference point if you're ever looking for facial poses, because it gets confusing when you're looking at a facial expression and all the muscles are moving at the same time, because you're like, well, what just happened there? And then if you break it down in individual muscles, then when you're wiring it together, you're just saying, okay, I want the smile. So the smile uses tons of muscles. So you got to be like, okay, I need this one, and I need this one, and you sort of reconstruct that smile using the targets. And you get a fairly natural looking smile that you can tweak and adjust and you know, have fake smiles and real smiles and work with it without having to create like each individual target that's the same every time. It works pretty good if you do it, if you spend a lot of time with it. But you just want the character to smile in a certain way, then sometimes it's better just to make that one smile and just go, this is the smile that I want. So I don't know. Too much control can be a bad thing. Alright, so we need to make the third one. So basically, I guess going from this pose, we can probably do the next one. I'm going to take all these joints and duplicate it. And we'll try opening up the mouth again a little bit. And try to bring it back to its default pose so I don't get too distorted in multiple, like, because I'm translating it, rotating it, and then I'm translating it, rotating it from that position, and then where you know it, the controller's kind of been rotated into a different position and circle altogether. Riz says, have you ever had to have your work checked? Have you ever had to have your work checked? That's an interesting question. I mean, basically everybody in a way checks it because they're all capable of giving you feedback. So, and particularly when you're dealing with facial animation, like, it's ruthless because everybody has very good identification of what makes facial animation work and what doesn't, because they're so well practiced. But it depends on what your position is. I don't know. When I was at Rocksteady, I was kind of like in charge of the facial rig. So it was me and some of the other rigger guys, and then the cinematic director, and we were all kind of working together trying to figure out what a good answer was. But generally, I was just sitting there by myself, just trying to figure out best system and see if I can improve from Arkham Asylum, and just pushing as much as I could to make it look awesome. That's pretty much all you do anyways. But it's nice to work with all these talented people because everybody's got like really good sense of, you know, where they're, what quality level that they want to hit at, and, you know, oh, can you try this? Or here's a cool idea. Maybe if we go for that. But they're always like pushing for like, how much better can we make this? Not sure if this is going in the right way or not. Let me double check. It's kind of like a pouty lip thing, so I don't know. We've got pouty lip possibility here. I don't know if I want to because he doesn't really have anything there. He's got like a line for his lip. does have a tongue apparently, but like, what is it? I don't know. You can't really see anything in there. Let's go into default wireframe here. There is no tongue. It's a lie. Makes sense, he's a skull, right? Why would he have a tongue? It's gonna be really hard for him to like hit his T's. He's gonna have a lisp. It's the only way. It's the only way. Or you just have a black abyss. Never tell what's in there. Alright, we'll leave that one there. Come back to it if we need to. And we'll move to the next blend shape. Let's see what we got here. Pucker. Right, that is the one I'm familiar with. So now we don't have the mouth open anymore. Actually, that was a good question. Mouth funnel. Was the mouth open? Oh shoot, it wasn't. I gotta do it. I gotta reset that one now. Alright. Bummer. Alright, I'm gonna take this pose, copy paste it over here. Yeah, that sucks. Alright, so we keep going with the funnel. See if I can make this a little bit faster so it's a little more interesting. There's another interesting point about when you're doing facial poses is, oh, how does it go again? It's like I don't know, there's a very fine balance between how much the upper lip moves and the lower lip moves, because as you move it, you see all the teeth beneath. Luckily in this character, we don't have teeth, which is, you know, actually a really awesome savior, because you really find that it's a hard balance to get the teeth right. You could either like have the teeth too high or too low, or your lips are too high or too low. And when we were doing facial motion capture, we would really have like a lot of concern about whether we've calibrated things correctly, and because it really changes the whole look. Like if you've got too much upper teeth or too much lower teeth, everything looks totally weird. Alright, let me look at that pose again before I move on. Oh, it seems to be compressed in here, so we've got elements of squeeze going on here. See if I can switch this back to object mode here. Might be easier. This does happen to be a really important pose. It does your O's and O's. What was the other one after this? Pucker. This is funnel and then pucker. So it's like the same idea. Okay, so I might be able to like steal this pose a little bit from the funnel. And make the other one, so I don't have to redo it from scratch completely. But like everything I'm doing right now is highly risky, because it's like, well, you know, if you move one of these joints a little bit too much in one way or another, you actually end up with quite a noticeable glitch. Because it's got a lot of traveling to do, or it's asymmetrical, or all this stuff. So we would definitely have like systems to be able to deal with these poses where, like, because it was joint based, we were able to copy paste the joints fairly easily from one character to the next. We just had to make sure that they were like locally based. So we had a special script that would just kind of like take your pose from one character and paste it on the other character, but using their local space as the relative starting point, which saved us a ton of time, because otherwise you'd have to make these poses for every single character. But with the tool, we could like at least get ourselves about 70-80% of the way there, and then we're just tweaking from that pose to fit the character nicer. That was a huge deal. So, and that's because we carefully made sure all our rigs were using the same skeleton and the same joint name convention, and they were actually, all the male characters were one proportion, all the female characters were another proportion, so we could share the animations between them pretty easily. But Jeremy was talking about how he had a system that would allow you to like do that with blend shapes as well. So, which to me that sounds pretty complex, but I know there's a lot of like wrappers and things that you can do, which technically would probably allow you to get a large portion of that work done. You know, like if you use a wrapper, it'll force geometry to match the position of another geometry. That's kind of the idea. I don't know what's going on here. What's up with the lower lips being so far away and the upper lips being so back? Seems weird. Oh geez, I haven't saved in like 3 years. Always a good idea to save before you crash. Okay, got that submitted. All right, so we'll move on to the next one because that took forever. And unfortunately, these ones are really important to do, so I don't really want to miss them. Mouth closed, mouth funnel, mouth pucker. There was an idea that I could do like an animation, an ambient idle animation with this rig or something too, in my stream here today, just because I get kind of boring watching me do thousands of these things. But I don't know, depends on where we go here. Still got another 50 minutes of me doing poses, so let's see. Oh, and there was also an idea of putting motion capture to this character and talking about that flow, because what you can do is take this rig and because it's a, I mean, you got the rig that's in Maya base, so you can't really do anything with that. But if you're going to bring in motion capture, you could retarget it. You could retarget the skeleton because the skeleton's pretty clean, and we could, in theory, go through the process of setting it up in Motion Builder to motion capture on it. So you could see motion capture on this character, which is kind of a fun idea. You can also do it in Unreal. So I don't know. Like I talked about cleaning up motion capture in Motion Builder before, and I still don't have any raw mocap to work with, so it's my main stopping point there. But it would be kind of interesting to watch how you could take like an existing motion and put it onto a you know, especially a more stylized character. It makes it more interesting to see how it translates. And And then you have some kind of cool animations that you can work with, so that maybe we could turn this into a playable character or something. Or at the very least have something cool to work with for a cinematic. Alright, we're gonna go with that. So we have our, this looks identical to that. I don't know, that's kind of what the idea is though. Like, this is called mouth pucker, so I think it's more about rotating the lips than it is about opening the lips. I don't know how much rotating I can do here. Let's just emphasize that a little more before I move on. With these skinny lips, you can kind of probably get away with not having a lot going on. And actually, one thing you'll find is it's really easy to over-exaggerate poses. So like, you talk two different ways. You talk when if you're talking quietly, you're barely moving your mouth. It's very minimal changes. Like, you know, if I'm gonna say ooh, and I'm just talking, I'm like, what is my ooh gonna look like? It's just gonna be a very, very subtle pose. But if I'm like yelling, or I'm really like angry and I'm really saying my things very carefully, like, then you would have very strong targets. And the difference between those two, it makes a big difference. It's like you have a very uncanny, especially if your dialogue is all quiet and subtle and you have like this expressive face expression going on. It doesn't seem right. But then if you have a yelling character, it seems a lot more appropriate. So one of the last things we did with our automatic facial dialogue system was we had a slider that was like expressive dialogue and then calm dialogue, and it would switch between two different types of targets through a blend. And then we were trying to like use the volume to decide whether or not it was going to be expressive dialogue or not. What do we got here? 3D Smith says, do you know the secret to color coding set names in Maya Outliner? What? Set names? Hey, Mistral says, hi, Simon. Mistral. Hello. Welcome. Color coding set names. I have a lot of questions, like, what do you mean by color coding, and what do you mean by set names? Like these selection sets? And what do you mean by color coding? Like, you can make them all different colors? Like, change the color of the font? I have never seen anything colored before, so that blows my mind, if that's possible. It was the secret, so it's possible that is what you're asking for. But I'm surprised I never saw anybody do that in their rigs. Yeah, the selection sets. If you don't, that's cool. Just didn't know if you regularly did that or not. Well, I mean, these, like this, for example, the skeletal mesh export I created for last week when we were doing we picked all the objects that we needed to be able to do our skeletal mesh export, and then I made a selection set for it. But the color set, I don't know, color coding, I mean, I don't know what how that works and what that does. So the answer, I guess, is no, unfortunately, but I'm really curious now that you brought it up. All right, let's move on to the next pose. Mouth left. Oh, maybe these are gonna be easier. Oh, it's the half smile. Okay. Smiles are really tough because they got like tons of muscles to make a genuine smile. Like, it goes up the cheeks and the squint and the eyebrows and like all kinds of stuff. And if you don't do it, it just looks like they couldn't be bothered to do a full smile. You got this fake looking smile. You're like, that doesn't quite look genuine. Alright, so he's lifting his cheek up, but he's also kind of like pulling it in because of that whole like muscle pull. And then that's where you need like this giant like pops your cheek out a little bit because all the skin's getting packed in there and rolled around. It's actually really cool. If you can get in these expressions, you can put a little bit of pull and movement from the upper part of the face. It actually works really nice. It was one of the tricks that I really utilized a lot. Was like, and smile's a great one, or you know, even this movement is a great one. You have to be realistic about it though. You can't just throw in arbitrary muscle pulling. But it would be like, if you can do it subtle enough, it just comes in really nice. Like, it has to be pretty subtle, to be honest. Like, I think I've gone too far there. But it keeps the rest of the face alive. So you have a whole bunch of facial movements, and then the rest of the face is just kind of like naturally pulling and tugging and changing. And you don't have to do that. It just automatically happens. So it is kind of a cool feature, but it takes a lot of tweaking to get that right. Alright, we got something happening at least. See here. Yeah, already you can see when I pull, like the cheek is pulling in, which is pulling these guys in, which is pulling this guy in, and then so this is crossing the middle of the face. So when you do this and you match it with the exact motion on the other side, and if you get it like perfect, then it balances out. So you get both sides pulling, and the middle of the mouth stays relatively the same position, and then you get this nice natural, like, you can have a smirk. It kind of goes one way and it still doesn't affect the symmetry of the face. Or sorry, if you do a smirk, it would affect the symmetry, so you'd see that natural pull. Antonio! Wow. Welcome. Boy, it's got to be late for you too. I don't think that the skeleton has much skin to pull though. So true. Hey Oscar! Nice, neat work. I'm not gonna take credit for the rig. I'm just taking credit for, I don't even want to take credit for anything, but I'm just doing the poses based on the Apple developer pose list. So I'm not really, the rig is made by Kyle Figgins, and here he is down here. But anyway, yeah. So we're just trying to work through some of these targets, and you know, hopefully next week I'll have my iPad Pro. I'll be able to set up some of that real-time facial whatever it's called. Why can't I think of it anymore? You know, where the face thing moves and it makes the things move. That thing. Face capturing. Hardly a smirk, but we should probably beef it up a little bit. And sometimes you can exaggerate poses too, so if you just take what the existing target is and you just push it beyond the value of 1, you can kind of get something else out of it. You can't go too far with it, but sometimes you can get a little bit more out of it, and that sometimes it's kind of a neat way to, like I was talking about before, where you have someone who's shouting or somebody who's just quietly talking. You can just sort of take those muted shapes and just exaggerate them. Sometimes it gives you the effect that you want. Yeah, you can see there's like a little bit of pull from the nose and the middle of the mouth, and it just helps kind of make that feel like it's all part of the same body. Now, unfortunately, I gotta do it to the other side in exactly the same way. I don't know if there's an easier way to do that. It'd be nice if there was. Sarah's got to head off. Try to watch more from my phone before it ends, though. Cheers, Simon. Thank you, Dave, for the IT help. It's alright. Thanks for staying as long as you did, Sarah. Appreciate the company. Oscar says, I must try those exaggerated poses on my character. What's your character, Oscar? That sounds kind of cool. Like you got something already on the go there. J. Smith, are you asking about mirroring the other side of the face? Yes. Have you got an answer for me on that one? Have you tried Studio Library? There you go. That is a good answer to that question. From my experience using Studio Library, it was, first of all, you have to set up the joints or the controllers in just the right way to work with their mirroring system so that it did, because it's just basically flipping one of the values in reverse and pasting it onto the joint on the other side. So the setup, unfortunately, is time consuming. I mean, if I was using Advanced Skeleton, I probably had an option. I might have an option or something that I could use that makes it work. But it's tough. Like, if I look at the name convention of it, sorry, I'm just reading now. Saving the face as a pose and then lets it mirror. Yes, that is correct. You can. In Studio Library is an awesome free tool that you can get that lets you mirror objects, but you really do need to work your way around that idea of what you're going to do there. So, just to show everybody else here, Studio Library. It's a cool little snazzy feature for doing facial poses. I would say if I was really getting serious about doing facial animation, this is probably pretty cool and smart to do. But I'm not entirely sure. My experience was not that fantastic with it the first time around, so not entirely sure if I want to go down that road right now. Might not be too bad though, because I might have to do a lot of flipping. Oscar says, I made some of my characters but haven't done much animation with it. Okay, cool. Yeah, animation on any character is a slow process, so lots of, I mean, I guess it really depends on what you're trying to do with it, but when you're trying to create rigs for it, it's always like, oh, I forgot to do this, or oh, this isn't working very well, or oh, I gotta do that. It takes a while to get it going. That's why I like using this rig, because it's already pre-made and I don't have to worry about, oh, the rig is broken. It's like, I know the rig's gonna work, I just have to do the poses. J. Smith says, isn't there a mirror option in Animbot? Animbot? I don't know Animbot. Or maybe I do, I just don't remember it. Okay, I think I remember this and I haven't used it before, so I don't know if there is. It would make sense there is an option. Oscar says true. JD Smith says, assuming you have Animbot. Yes, assuming I have Animbot. 30-day free trial. I would be more tempted to use Studio Library first. For the sake that I would only be using a very small amount of the tool set from Animbot. If I was animating day in, day out, then maybe Animbot would be the right solution, but because I spend most of my day doing everything else, I hardly have any time to animate. Although that might be changing in the future, I don't know. Yeah, no, it's good though. A good option to bring forward, because I definitely feel like it's a question that needs to be answered in Maya. And it's one of these questions. It's like, okay, what are your options? And then at the end of the day, can we just script a solution? Oh, I know what I was going to say. Because really, if you look at the naming convention here, depending on how they named it, so we've got bottom, left, mid, and then so the opposite controller is called bottom, right, mid. So L and R gets flipped. Just that naming convention alone, I mean, you could kind of assume you're picking these ones, and then you know that the other ones are going to be, you know, same name, but this is our changeable variable. And then you take all these values from this controller and you would apply it to that controller minus with something correctly inverted. And that's the tricky part, is like, okay, what is the inversion? Oh, I know. And then I made a cool tool once upon a time that just basically you pick the two of them. You go like, I pick this one and I pick that one. And then you click the button, it goes and applies the value to the other side. I did this in 3D Max though, so this isn't gonna help me right now. But that was one of my hard, and then I guess eventually I took that concept of what I did and then I built it into a bigger and bigger thing, and then we just ended up doing the whole face rig rather than just the one joint. It's mind-blowing that Maya hasn't developed all these tools and made them as part of the package. It's almost insulting. I 100% agree with you on that one. I definitely feel like there is a lot of potential, missed potential with Maya. And I think they just rely on the fact that studios all have their own in-house tools that do all these things. I mean, to be fair, you could... Oh, shoot. Here you go. Here's our solution. There's all these null scripts. Let's see if we can go Maya mirror control script. Is there a script for mirroring controls? Let's see what Reddit says. Takes 1 minute. See, that's the best answer ever. Facepalm. Select the controls, group them, duplicate group, scale -1. Yeah. Oh, look, someone's got a script right here. Duplicates or renames the 0 groups, mirrors it, and then renames the child nodes back. Checks the script editor for errors. See, I don't want to be duplicating anything. I'm just taking the values and applying the values. But I kind of like, that's why I like the idea of like select one, shift select another, and I'll know what order they're in. And I just say, take this value and put it on there, but in reverse. I swear there's probably something out there that does this. It's just, what's faster? Sitting there and renaming it manually, or looking for a script and trying to make it work so that you can get it to apply. JD Smith, I hope Mr. It takes a minute to send broken hell right now. That's true. It's like, what a great answer. Yeah. Clearly, you haven't been in a production environment where you have to do this 1,000 times. And then you have to do it again because somebody asked for a change. This is not what I thought it was going to be. It looks like it's mirroring geometry again. See, I don't know. This is where I need to sit there and look at it and figure it out. I'm sure there is some sort of thing out there, but you know, to write a script that makes you mirror it, like what I was saying, isn't that crazy hard to do. It is really hard to invert rotations usually, but if I do it manually once, I might be able to get a sense of how hard this is going to be. So let's say I take this control and I'm going to look at these values. And then grab this one over here. Pretty sure that's the equivalent. So we would say, oh, also I need to make sure I'm on the right frame. Although it, yeah, might as well make sure I'm on the right frame. I was gonna say, you can just zero out half of them. Copy it over. 0.034. And then that looks correct. So then we got rotation X 0.759. That might not be correct. Minus 0.637. And 10.818. That's probably the one that's wrong. That in negative. They might, well, so what are we flipping here? We've got X, Y, Z is on these axes, but it's really dependent on its own local coordinate system, what its parents are. So rotating on the blue, which is the Z. So yeah, this might be the right axis here. That needs to be flipped because it's rotating on this side, it's rotating that way, and on this side it's rotating that way. We both want to go up, and we both want to go, well, maybe the green, which is the Y, might need to be inverted as well. I don't know. So that's basically two values have to be multiplied by -1 to get you the opposite. So it's not too bad. How much time do I have? 8:35? Should I try to do this? This is a dangerous road. Alright. We'll give it a shot. And if it just seems hopelessly failed, then I'm just gonna like, whatever. Maybe I'll do it offline or figure it out. Yes, get rid of it. Should I do it in Python? I don't know. We'll see. So what I do when I do some scripting is I go to mel command reference or Python command reference. Let's try to do it in Python because I like Python. Even though I don't really need to, I think, because it's technically everything's going to be pretty straightforward. Oh, actually, one thing you can do is steal a lot of code. Is the best idea, but you're going to steal it. It's all going to be mel, but you know, whatever. Maybe we'll look at mel instead. I'm not sure what this is. I'm just going to clean it out. So when you like rotate a value, you get a mel command that tells you what it is. You can just copy paste that and it becomes the new functionality. If you want to know what that means and how it works, you can just find it. So in here under the, I think I went to Python, but whatever. So rotate, there's our rotate command, and it tells you some of the flags and what you can do. So we got like all these different flags for that command line, and you can find out what they mean. And then at the bottom, the most useful part is to give you little examples on what you can do. So for example, every time you do a Python command, you got to load in some of these commands as a module. So that would be the first thing you have to do. And then you have to, here's a rotate. So we would want to collect the selection set. So there's a whole, I think it's called cell for selection. I thought it was called cell. This is for selecting. Darn, I've already forgotten what the command is. There's a way to like get your current selection. This is gonna go slower than I thought. Oh, I know how you find out. Again, steal the code. So select. Oh no, that's not how you pick the selection. It's like a Linux command, I'm pretty sure. It's like a $sign and then something. Darn. I forget what it is. I wish I hadn't deleted all my other codes there. That was probably quite useful a second ago. So selecting a rotation may be more complicated than I thought, because you have to create a variable, pull that rotation in. Getting variables needs a special thing. Yeah, this might actually get a little more tricky because I can't just steal the code for it. I think you have to get attribute or something. Copy attribute, get attribute, and then use a flag for what it's, oh, it's not even the right one. Yeah, I'm already lost. There's all kinds of things I've forgotten how to do. What I would want to do at this stage would probably steal something from a pre-existing script that I've been working on before and use that. So I'm not really probably going to take the full plunge on this one. But at least I was trying to give you a heads up of where exactly I'm heading with this for context. See if there's anything in here that I can steal. Int hand. Set attribute. Why can't you just use get attribute? I had one in here that was pretty good. I'm surprised I haven't found it yet. No, that's not it. Wow. Really anticipated this to be more exciting than this. I was like, oh, it'll be great. Well, like, oh, here it is. This is the selection. Gets, yeah, LS, that's the word I was looking for. So that's how you get your current selection of all the selected objects you have. So if you're going to pick like this first and this second, you're going to get a list, and it's going to be in a string. And it's going to say, this is a mel command line. So the string's going to end up with an array of all your selections based on the first thing you picked all the way to the last thing you picked. So then you have to pick like what item do you want from that. So I would be able to say, okay, this is the thing we're taking the data from, this is the thing we're going to paste the data from. And then, so there's still the element of how do you, and this is applying it to a variable, which is good too. And then you take that string, which in here they called it user hand. No, somewhere in here, user hand, there you go. So user hand grabbing the first value of that variable. So that would be the first selection item. And somehow doing stuff with it, like getting things. That would be awesome if it was getting things. Where's Xform? Xform is a way to apply stuff to it, so that might be another way that we could use to get to apply the rotations that are inverted after we've modified them. Here's get attribute. So in this line, what they're saying is getting the IK control 0 dot rotate axis. So in this case, we would say we're just going to call it selection, and then selection, the first selection. Get its rotate axis X. I think that's the right value. So that's going to give us a value. So I think this will be called a string as well. Oh no, I can do it as a float. Float. Rotate X. get attribute, and you gotta put a little semicolon at the end. And then so then what? We're gonna make rotate X multiplied by, oh, I know, right here I can say that. We're gonna say multiply by -1 perhaps. I don't know if that's the correct way to do it here. Got my languages all confused. But that would give you the inverse of it, and then we could hopefully say I want to put Rx back in to the rotate X from the X form. Is anybody still here? Anybody watching? Is this like craziest, boringest stream I've ever done? Let's see here. Oh. Resources, where was it again? Scripting path. We're gonna go to the Mel one this time. Looks exactly like the Python one, but syntax is different. I'm gonna do Xform. There's probably really smart ways to do this too. Like I can already see, like we've got ways to do the matrix so you have the full values there. Oh god, like, oh geez, what have I done? What am I getting myself into here? Rotate axis, rotate order, rotation, angle, angle, angle. So that's RO. Still watching Brain Hurts though. Sorry, Brett. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna eventually like pull out of this, and when we get totally stuck, I'm not gonna make this super boring. But I just was like, well, we're still making some progress here. Let's just keep talking. This one's changing the R, the I don't know what R stands for, but RO. And then we have values, so this would be the X, so X, Y, Z, so it'd be the first value, and then I don't know, we'd have to collect all the other ones too. Guess you'd have to put all three of them at once. X, Y, Z. Sure, there's a better way to do this. What did I say? That X was the only one I didn't have to multiply by 1, actually. So X, Y, Z. Now, what am I applying it to? That's the other question. Like, it's not saying what object this is supposed to be applied to. Okay, so we're just going to use select. And then we're going to do selection 01. So we're collecting it from 0 and we're applying it to 1. Or we're selecting 1 and then we're going to apply the X form to it. I don't know, it's worth a try. Stu! Ow, Mel today, what are we doing? That's funny. Yeah, sorry. Super, super dry. We're trying to mirror a value over, so we'll see. I don't know, it's possible that I'm making a total mess of this, but it might be a good starting point, and then maybe I can sort of resolve it after this stream's over. But I'm going to just throw it up here for now. And actually what I'll do is so let's see, we'll try one that clearly needs to be moved. This one to this one. Wait, gotta make sure we have it in a position. Oh, so this is another problem. is that you're going to have a different frame. And I think that was one of the other things I had to do. You had to copy it to a clipboard and then paste it from a clipboard. Oh boy. Anyways, let's see what happens here. Play. I don't think anything happened. But we did select this object at the end, so at least the select worked. This multiplied by -1 maybe didn't work. I didn't get any values applied at all, so that did not pull any data. Oh, there is no rotation values on that. So I forgot to put translation in there. JD Smith says, deep dive into the Matrix. It's true, we did talk about the Matrix once already. With the matrices. Stu, I like to switch the anim node and rename it with Python. Oh, this is interesting. I like to switch the anim node and rename it with Python. What does that mean? Like you're replacing the animation controller node and then renaming it? That's an interesting perspective, but it sounds kind of crazy. In the node editor, there is a node that holds the animation data. In the node editor, there's a node that holds the animation data. Like in the node editor, but like, are we planning on, like, we have the rotation and the scale and the translate and stuff, but that's the whole animation. We only just want the one pose switched over to the other pose. You can unplug it from one control and plug it into another. Oh. Even if the name's different? Oh, and then you rename it in with Python. Made it for mirror animation script, not to do a pose. Yeah. I mean, this is awesome. I like hearing what you're saying about the whole mirroring. How do you get it to mirror though? It still isn't really mirrored. You're just putting the same animation on this other control. Don't you have to have like inverted values? Unless the rig was made up in a certain way that allowed you to have the same values just on the other side. Right, the rig needs to have left to right. So that if you grab the same control, you can perform the same action twice. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these ones do not have that. And I kind of already proven that. Or maybe I wasn't sure what I was doing here. Rotate. They do have mirrored action. Wait, let me see this angle too. No, they don't. Yeah, no, they don't. That would be, that was incorrect there. Anyway, it was a cool thought. I never knew about that idea for mirror animation. I mean, again, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm hesitant to use the what's it called now? I've forgotten it already. The studio library, because that also required the rig setup to be done in a way that allows its logic of how to mirror it already set, so that it's applying negative values from one control to the next. It knows which negative values to put from one to the next. So then it really gets into like, okay, that's if the rig isn't made correctly, then you've got a huge work job on your hands. Anyways, so that's the idea for how this is going to work. I'm going to keep working on this later and maybe come up with a solution that is a little bit better, and then we'll share it with everybody so that we actually get something productive out of all that effort. Meanwhile, let's just jump back since I've got less than 10 minutes. We'll talk about, summarize what we're doing here a little more. So we're trying to do the facial shapes for the Apple product. Man, I've opened so many windows just in that little bit of time there. There we go. Where we're trying to get this facial expression, and then the next one after this is going to be the exact opposite, where the facial expression is on the other side. So I'm trying to figure out, an efficient, fast way to do that without having to like go through too much trouble. But now I've got the face smile on one side, and I was going to try to do it to the other side. But yeah, there's other issues I have to deal with too. Like, how do I get? I mean, in theory, you could get this and that side together, and then you just select all these ones and zero the rotations out and translations, and they're going to go back to where they defaulted. So it's not that crazy if they're. Anyways, I'm just thinking. So we'll come back to that one in a sec, because that's really boring to watch twice. And then mouth left, mouth right. So we got a smile left. See, it's very similar to the previous one. Smile right, frown, a little bit down. Like, seriously, what's the difference between smile or mouth left and smile left? Guess this part comes up a little more. Let me just do a little screenshot here. Mouth, smile left, and mouth left. So it seems like this part of the mouth also comes over. Like, it's both sides come over, and this one comes upwards more. So that's important to realize. Even the nose is kind of modified a little bit. Go over. So I'll have to be really careful about the subtlety there. Frown, dimple left. That looks like it just tucks in a little bit, which means the cheeks gotta come out a little bit. But I feel like that just goes in. Stretch left. Oh yes, the stretch one. That one we do use. Because when you go, then you gotta use it. Is this stretch right? Roll lower. Oh yeah, that's the M. Shrug. Lower. Okay. Weird names. Guess that would be like the bottom lip up. What's this one called? Mouth press left. Wow, they split up the mouth pressed from left to right. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm definitely going to want that mirroring thing figured out, because that's going to be really hard to do otherwise. It pulls down the bottom left. All right. Upper left. Oh yeah, that goes up. We gotta do up on left and right. Then we get into the brows, which I don't have too much. Well, this character does have some brow movement. Not too much, but it does have a bit. And cheek puff. Oh yeah, that one. Could probably put that one in. Cheek squint. That's where the cheek comes up. This is a really valuable one. Definitely worth doing. Lots of cheek squinting happening all the time. It really makes a difference in terms of making the expression read. Nose sneer left. Oh, this brings the nose up. Yeah, very good. We got tongue out. This character has no tongue, so that's really helpful. Cool, and that's about it. So we have quite a few targets to do. It's going to take a while for sure. Currently, all we have is like just a handful of ones. Where we did the jaw, and then we did the mouth open, mouth closed, and then the funnel and the can't remember what they called that one. And I'm gonna have to make that less smiley because it was actually not supposed to be smiley. And like I said, we have some expression poses that we can do on the upper part where these brows do move a little bit, but none of these eyelids work, so there's nothing I can do for eyes if I wanted to. Oh, he does actually able to look though. There's no eyeball here. I'm not sure if making this eye look is a good idea. Maybe it is. Not really, because you can kind of see the end of the eyeball. You can maybe make it move a little bit, prevent it from feeling too locked in. Oh, we got some controllers back there as well. Like, these controls are made sort of generically on all their rigs, so sometimes they're necessary, sometimes they're just automatically put in there from their auto rigger that he's using. And then there's this control for the visor, if I ever wanted to bring the visor down, but I don't see how that's going to make any sense for the facial expressions. And of course I got to R&D how exactly the facial expressions are all going to get put in there. So, quite a lot of work to do still. So that puts me right up to the end of the hour, which is kind of worked out well. And I guess what I'll do is I'll just keep working away at trying to solve these problems, and I try to create that script up. So I should have that all ready for next week. We'll definitely try to talk more about the hardware and getting it working in Unreal, so that we're talking more about Unreal instead of just discussing stuff that and problems in Maya, which is what we're doing right now. But I'll leave it there. Thanks for everybody showing up. If you guys have any ideas or any thoughts about what you want to see in these streams, feel free to shout out about it. I'm happy to improvise as requested. Yeah, I'll leave it there and I'll see you guys again next week. Hey, everybody.